Hello and welcome to a new episode of Las Platicas, where we have guests here. So, Kristen, take it away.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, welcome to Las Platicas, a show hosted by us, Comadres y Comics, where we meet with creators and friends to talk about upcoming projects, events, and all around awesome news in the Latinx comic community. Today, we have the pleasure of having Hector Rodriguez the third.
Part 3.
Hector is a Texas educator, organizer of the Texas Latino Comic Con, and founder of Rio Bravo Comics, which is an independent comic book publisher based in Dallas, Texas. Created by Hector, El Peso Hero is considered the company's flagship series. The comic book is heavily influenced by the modern day challenges people from both sides of the U.S. Mexico border currently face. The main story is centered on El Peso Hero, a rogue hero who is standing up against Mexico's cartels, corrupt officials, and human traffickers. With modern social issues such as immigration, human trafficking, and border corruption, El Peso Hero has garnered attention and praise from the Latino community and been featured on Univision, CNN, Telemundo, Fusion, TV Azteca, and countless other media sites worldwide. His comic book series, El Peso Hero, is currently celebrating its 10th anniversary. That's amazing. This year, that's awesome. So we can't wait to hear all about all of these amazing accomplishments and all about where you and El Peso Hero is going from here. So welcome, Hector, to Las Platicas.
No, thank you so much, Comadres, for having me on board. Your amazing show. Been a fan. Nice. You guys have had some amazing guests. Yeah.
Well, I love your little setup in the back. It's the perfect background for our Las Platicas on YouTube. I love all of the art and the depiction of your characters. That's awesome. And your little blanket in the back too. That's the best part.
Sí. Cuando tengo frío, when I'm cold, especially aquí va.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to just go ahead and jump right in because we do love to have our guests share their origin stories, quote unquote, of how they entered into the comic industry. So please introduce yourself to our listeners and in this case, our watchers by talking a little bit about your history with comics and how you began your comics career and founded Rio Bravo Comics.
Well, yes. Saludos a todos. My name is Hector Rodriguez. I'm creator of El Peso Hero. And I was your typical border kid in the border, La Frontera, of Texas and Mexico, Eagle Pass, and Piedras Negras, Coahuila. And so, I have deep roots. My family's been in that area for hundreds of years. You have el mestizaje, you have the native, Colitenses, Lipan Apache, you have the Spaniards, you have the Las Misiones, the missions, the Misiones en Bernardo and Guerrero, Coahuila. And so you have this rich history, rich world, the border being a crossroads of cultures and music and food.
Most importantly, food.
Exactly. And so, in my, I grew up, watching Mexican entertainment media, Cantinflas, Capolina, El Santo Blue de la Lucha Libre, Maria Felix, del Cine de Oro, very important Mexican movie history, pivotal. And then in the, in Eagle Pass, I had American entertainment, right? And so, Spider-Man, Captain America, Superman, Batman in '89, the older Superman movies. And so, so I had I was very blessed that I had I was in the middle of these two worlds, and I was consuming all these amazing stories. And I remember watching with my grandfather, my abuelito Jesus, watching películas de, the narco cinema in Mexico, the los hermanos Almalda brothers, that grindhouse Mexican action flicks, right? So that had a huge influence on me too. And lucha libre, and so yeah. Right. And so I had, and then my dad was in the military. So he would bring home Mad Magazine, Sergio Aragones, amazing artist, or that huge influence. And also he himself used to read Captain America Sergeant Rock when he was a kid in El Santo, the comic, La Historieta, Chanok, Calimán. And so, yeah, so I just had this great experience.
That is super cool. I remember those Solin and I'm such a fan of Blue Demon is my guy.
Yeah.
That is super cool. Did you want to tell us how you developed the story and Rio Bravo Comics? I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah. So Rio Bravo being the name, actual name, Rio Bravo, El Rio Grande. And so I had a pivotal moment of a culture shock. I was in elementary. I was in third grade. My dad decided to go back to school to pursue his master's in Texas A&M. So he was an Aggie. He's like, let's go back. Well, he needed to go back. So I went from the border to Central Texas, I went from a bilingual, dominated classroom, just all Chicanos, Latinos, to me being the minority. So I was very extroverted as a young kid, and all this and todo eso. And then all of a sudden I'm el único hispano. I'm like the only Hispanic kid in my classroom, and I'm just like, and I was bilingual, right? I was bilingual, but it's still, I was in a different world. And so one great thing about College Station was the fact that there were dedicated comic book stores. That was great. That was something very different from the border, because if you wanted to check out comics, you needed to go to the HEB or go to the place where they rent VHS tapes, your mom and pop VHS rental place. The comics would be next to the baseball cards, and there were a lot of baseball cards, right? And so it was cool, because I remember in '91, or early on, and I remember Spawn, especially an African American Black vigilante superhero too, right? And so that's cool. I like Spawn growing up, especially that edginess. It kind of took me in. It's like this comic medium can be taken seriously, especially me growing up in the border and seeing a lot of grays. More ambiguity. You're not from here. The allá. And so I started each Friday. My parents, my dad used to take me to a comic book store after school. He would take us, pick up comics, and it's a great source of literacy too. And with my mom, I used to watch a lot of Mexican soap operas. And so growing up, I love like Cuna de Lobos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so and so I had that's a lot of, that's the thing about El Peso Hero, that it deep down inside, it's a drama. It's Mexican soap opera in a way. Once you peel through the layers of of some of the themes, then you see some of the very character-driven novela in it, influenced by me watching novelas with my mom.
That is super freaking cool. Cuna de Lobos, man, that was the stuff.
And it was good.
And Maleficio, I love those.
Yeah.
I love the ones that were horror driven. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. And then you watch I remember as a kid watching Carusel. Remember that with the kids?
Oh yeah, Carusel de Niños.
Carusel, yes. There we go. We're going back, Sarah.
That already sounds freaky.
It's good. It's actually an endearing story.
Yeah.
With the classroom and the teacher, and then the
classism too.
The classism, yeah. The racism.
Yeah, the
that was ahead of its time.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. It's really amazing to hear how you got started by being an artist and a writer and producer of El Peso Hero. Can you tell the audience and all about the comic El Peso Hero and the Kickstarter that's currently live, right? What inspired you to develop this story?
Yeah, it's so. I'll tell you this. You know, while I was picking up comics as a kid, you know, I gravitated towards some of the dark horrors. You know, Aliens and Predator. I'm a huge Godzilla fan. If you guys don't know, I mean, I have like Godzilla here, here, here. I mean, it's. I mean, you see a Puzzle Hero, but
Yeah.
and so you know, you go around. It's yeah. I mean, I love Batman, Superman. You know, in the adventures and Justice League, and I was buying comics, but these characters never really appealed to me because I mean, when was the last time you saw Batman eating empanadas or pan dulce, right? Eating, Superman eating conchas, you know, at the Daily Bugle while he's right. You know, and so it's like I said, it's that cultural contest that I really wanted to have a character that connected to me. And so it was 2003 when I started writing El Peso Hero, visiting the border, and my grandfather telling me, you know, rumors and you know, of these vigilante ex-military guys creating a criminal organization. And so, you know, and then I started thinking, wow, it would be amazing if there was like a norteño superhero fighting these guys. I'm like, there isn't. There should be. And you know, boom. And then I started writing. And yeah, and in my background, yes, I've always been involved in art. I have my own paintings, and you know, I think it's very important as an artist to develop the fundamentals. And so, hence, I mean, I went through, you know, like art honors, art AP, and then in college, art, you know, courses, you know, focusing on figure drawing and you know, getting your fundamentals and then gravitating towards sequential art, right, which is an amazing piece type of art. And you start, you know, doing your researching and paying respects towards the folks that came before you. And so, yeah, it started developing norteño superhero. And very basic, you know, blue jeans, white shirt. It looks like a tío, and that's sort of great things when I visit schools. They look, oh, it's like my grandpa, you know, it's like my abuelito, you know, se ponen las botas, you know, in la envilla, you know, the belt buckle. And so, yeah, it's a great thing about that. He doesn't have a mask. I made that purposely. You know, there's a scene in a Peso Hero issue 1 where they ask him, how come you don't wear a mask and a cape? And he answers back, well, capes are for games and masks are for cowards.
Oh,
respectfully to the folks that wear masks, you know, the characters out there. But this is Ignacio. This is El Peso Hero. This is his, you know, it's him. And so I do detach myself from the character when I'm writing. You know, he listens to banda, corridos. I listen to grunge, you know, metal. You know, and so I have 2 bass guitars. You know, I play bass in a band. But yeah, we listen to different music, you know, and but it's been a journey. You know, it's definitely been a journey, 10 years. And so this Kickstarter is very special because it's the accumulation of 10 years of story of El Peso Hero, containing 12 books.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And 2 unreleased books. It's the conclusion of the story arc.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Super exciting.
Initially, you were the artist as well as the writer for El Peso Hero. And since you have hired an artist for your series, can you tell us how hard it was to let someone else create the art for your book?
Yes, Jen. Yeah, good question. And so, you know, early on, we hit it. The first time El Peso Hero went viral was with Primer Impacto, Univision. And it was, it's so growing up, Primer Impacto was so sensationalized, like,
I know.
Siguiente, viene un incidente, right? You know, it's all serious and just like flashy, right? It's, I remember, like, oh my God, I'm going to be in Primer Impacto. My mom's going to be so proud. And so, yeah, we went viral with that story. It actually won a Texas Emmy
Oh,
which they
wow.
don't let you
Oh.
keep those. They're in the office in Univision in Dallas there. It says a Peso Hero though, and I have a nice picture with it. I mean, check it out on Instagram. But yeah, it was picking up, and I needed to, let go of the artistic reins, per se. So I'm the artist for issue 1 and 2, and I have one of the great things about our independent community, our indie community, is that we're very knit, we're very close, and that's great. And something that it's been such a we support each other, and we root for each other either when we hit it, direct market, or we go mainstream, or we get our comic goes into that other echelon, right? And so I hit my network up, and I'm like, hey, beforehand, El Peso Hero was a webcomic in 2011. July 22 was a webcomic. That's how I started, just because of the accessibility, very important, it being free, and and just webcomics are really gearing up. And so I would post a page every 2 weeks. And July 27. And by spring of 2012, I already had 30 pages. And so I'm here doing conventions, and they're asking me, yeah, I follow your webcomics, really cool, but I want a book. And so I printed out the first issue, which is this, of El Peso Hero. I only have 3 of these left. And so,
wow.
Yeah, so this is the original
limited edition.
Yeah. And it's true. Funny thing is, I have it as a Kickstarter for it's going to be graded, and I really dread somebody picking it up, because I want to keep all of them. Hey, but if they get it, right? But so it was very fluid, just because it's a webcomic. I've had guest artists in my webcomic, and so it kind of helped me test the waters and see the styles. And so right now we have Guillermo Villarreal. He kind of has a very Ed McGuinness art style, very clean, round, and so he does the just the general storyline. And then I have Chema from San Luis in Mexico. He does our special stories. Like he did the El Peso Hero punching Trump cover, honoring Jack Kirby, Captain America, which got released in 2006. And we got some hate mail for that. And this is when he was, that was that summer he announced. Yeah. And so we went viral again with that cover, because it was in Mexico, and it was on El País, and so it was something that, we've never gone political, just because our stories are a reflection of the border world, right? Like it or not. And so I have fans that are from both political philosophy. They like it different, which is interesting. That I do know. They like the story or the character differently from different perspectives, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
And so I've had even, Border Patrol agents come to me at shows, like, hey, it's a really, really good story. They point to a story piece, and they're like, I lost a colleague in Nuevo Laredo, and it's just like, oh, I mean, there's some moments that really are really rough, but they connect to it, right? And so in this case, back then, candidate Trump announced his candidacy. It just blatantly, regurgitated vomit or diarrhea from his mouth, right? And so, and I'm like, it's like, so what can we do to combat ignorance and hate? By art. We're artists. And so I'm like, I have a special idea for a cover. I want to honor Jack Kirby, the original Nazi fighting fascist artist, right? And it's Captain America punching Hitler, and not knowing how authoritarian he was actually going to become, right? And so we put up as a hero Trump, boom, cover, 4 border stories and it went viral. And then then some of the alt-right blogs picked it up and ran with it, just saying, puras pendejadas, right?
That's
And
so cool.
and so it's been a journey, right? And so right now I've had, special covers. I have a Ken and White that the La Presa de la Amistad which is an actual location. A Ken and White. I have Adriel Mendel, which did this one here, and so we have another one with Sergio coming up, which is a special print for the Kickstarter too. And so, yeah, I mean, you have your network, you connect, and you see what's best fits for what story.
Yeah.
Was it difficult though for you to let that go? I know that it was necessary, but as a creator and as the actual
it was
initial
exciting.
creator,
it was exciting.
Okay.
It was exciting, because I'm still writing it. It's still my story, which I'm still writing. It's still my story. But I'll tell you this: when we go to Chisme, I'll tell you what's actually harder to let go.
Oh, okay. Well, so you already talked about, and we've already talked about how El Peso Hero is a defender of immigrants, a hero to the disenfranchised, and growing vexation for Mexican cartels, corrupt officials, and human traffickers. Can you talk a little bit about what responsibilities that you may feel as a Latino in the industry to ensure that Latinx stories and characters are being offered to a wider audience?
Oh, great. One of the biggest privileges that I have is being an educator, being a bilingual educator here in Texas. I've been also a dual language teacher where I serve a very diverse community of students, regardless of race or ethnicity. It's learning Spanish and English at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so all these, it keeps me grounded, listening to them. And there were times that it's just very difficult when some of your students' parents get deported. Last year there was an incident here in Dallas and Allen where there was a huge immigration roundup operation about 15 minutes away from my campus, my school.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of my students were in distress because they were fearful that their tios, abuelitos were going to get deported. And it's very easy to forget the humanity, especially when you're talking about politics and taking sides and being so, and everybody's cheering, taking team A, team B, but then you lose the humanity aspect of these major issues. And so I always felt that was my responsibility as the writer of El Peso Hero to be honest, be truthful, be respectful to some of these stories that I'm telling. I was in Austin at a campus near downtown Austin, visiting a school, and I had a very emotional moment. I was a fourth grader. She was pointing out to the cover. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah.
Well, it sounds very intense for sure.
Yeah. So I'm pulling out. Sorry, this is actually. Pulling for motor stories, and she was making connection that this is how me and my mom crossed, and she's in tears because she's like having a connection. It's like, wow, there's a superhero defending them. I wish there was a superhero defending us. And so, we share that moment, and it just, it gives me more animo, more sense of urgency to tell her story respectfully. So it just, and that's my perspective. When it comes down to the broader community, it's challenging for me because, I try not to rely on tropes and stereotypes on, the border so conflicting and all this, and there's always these hues and en los carteles y todo eso. But I'm like, well, you know what? It's for real, brother. I mean, when was the last time you were in a border town, you know, like in across, you know, you see the Black Hawk helicopter from La Marina crossing over your tío's, your madrina's house, you know, and everybody's, you know, talking in hushed tones because it's that. I'm like, you know, it's, you know, and this was like mid 2015, 2016 when I had this incident with the Black Hawk. But, you know, there's been some real moments, even within my family, especially because I have family on both sides. You know, I have family in Rio Bravo, Mexico, and todo eso. And so I tend to walk a fine line too. I have to be very careful too with it, Peso Hero too. And so, and then when I mean, early on, I was very careful, considering what I knew and what I was talking about. But now it's more, it feels it's more open. But I try to be as honest as I can with the storyline with Ignacio. At the same time, I do take breaks and I write horror stories with Ignacio. Like that's why I did a Frontera de Terror, Border of Terror. I love scary stories. I love horror, and so it just definitely gives me a break.
Man, that sounds really intense. I mean, just got a little emotional just hearing about the fourth grader who pointed out that that's how she crossed the border. My mom also crossed the desert in order to get here. So, it, you know, it's a story that many, like I think a lot of people can identify through some family member out there. So, wow, that was tough. Hector, you've also organized the Texas Latino Comic Con, which has entered its 5th year in 2021. Tell us, what was the inspiration behind creating this Comic Con? What have been the high points of such a big event for the community?
You know, this is where my primos from Long Beach, you know, my primo Ricardo Padilla, Javier, you know, come in. And so, yeah, it's Latino Comics Expo, you know, came out 2011. And you know, funny thing is Javi and I have a long history. A lot of folks don't know. I met Javi in 2005 through MySpace.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
MySpace.
You're dating yourself. What?
You're really throwing it back.
Say word, what's that?
Was he your top 5?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No comment on that. But no, I met Javier. You know, I was doing these storyboards for this indie movie, you know, called Plastic, and it had like Jay Muse from, you know, Jay Silent Bob, you know, Jason Muse, and so it was this indie film, and I was doing storyboards, and then they're like, oh, you know, you should do a graphic novel, Hector, you know, and then I'm like, man, I need to. This is, you know, and this is the first serious like project with like comics, you know, and so, and then I would visit the comic book store, and I remember seeing El Muerto, and I'm like, whoa, what's El Muerto? You know, and I looked through and it's a Chicano. Okay. So I you know, Google, MySpace, Javi, he friended me, you know, we became friends. I'm like, yeah, wow. I was like, this big guy living in his movie coming out. Wow, little old me, you know, just, you know, I started asking him questions, you know, just general, you know, business stuff, you know, and so he started to give me feedback and, you know, and just helping me out 2005, 2006. And so, you know, we still kept in contact, you know, and then when, you know, Peso Hero came about, I asked him more questions. Right. And so, and, you know, I noticed the Latino Comics Expo blowing up. I'm like, wow, I really want to go to the show. That's amazing. You know, what an amazing, place for all of us to share our artwork and so on. And so this was 2000, and then 2014, I had the idea, man, maybe they should come to Texas because we have such an amazing community. right? And so I call Javi and like, hey man, you should come to Texas here, man. I can try to hook, the university. But he's like, yeah, man, well, how about you just do your own, man. You don't have to wait till we come over there. And I'm like, all right. All right. Okay, I see what you did there, right? And so, and then it wasn't until 2017, I was coming back from Profe's Brown and Black Brown Expo in Ohio, Columbus. I was coming back, and then my good friend David, David Dow, which is the co-founder, and David, David has a history of creating conventions, like here in Texas, in North Texas, and he worked in the big anime Acon, and then he did the mini Acon, and so he's able. He had the logistic know-how, and he was also a huge indie comic book creator too here. And so then he asked me, well, where did you come from? Like, where were you at? Oh yeah, just the Brown and Black, like all Ohio, Columbus. Wow. We could just start Texas Latino Comic Con. Like, oh, actually, yeah, let's do it. And so we connected, and so by the following year, we had our first Texas Latino Comic Con, which was an amazing success, free event, and then it hit news, and it was that, and it was just an amazing moment, just seeing everybody, collaborating and just hearing a lot of good feedback at the Latino Culture Arts Center here in Dallas. And this year it'll be digital. We'll be back doing digital.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Well, we can't wait to actually be there in person.
Yes. 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 Hopefully next year. Yeah, next year.
Yeah. Our intention was to go this year, but till next time.
All good. Yeah.
So up next, we have Chisme. This segment gives you the opportunity to share any stories, comics, projects that you are working on currently or that you haven't shared. We love to hear all about how your comic book is set to become a movie with production starting in the fall.
So, yeah, it's been quite a journey. Who doesn't love their project to have that broader audience, right? For in any book, and so I recall it was 2014, the first time that somebody actually contacted me about Peso Hero. And that's the thing, I never would have imagined, for me, it was, I would really want to tell the story of Ignacio, and it's like, and I get excited when I'm writing, and I get excited when I get the stack of books, and it's such an amazing feeling. And it was 2014 when Rafael Lara, the director of Cinco de Mayo La Batalla, a cool movie, he contacted me. He's like, hey, Hector, cool, I like El Peso Hero. I want to give me permission. I want to pitch it to some producers here in Televisa, Mexico, all that. And so I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so by then I'm like, Javi, I was like, dude, I need some advice again. Like, and so me, dude, El Muerto, man, hit it with Wilmer Valderrama, and so he mis mil respetos there. And so that it was like, then we got some feedback. The producers got kind of weird about the narco angle. I'm like, I completely understand, whatever. So even though later on they started doing like El Señor de los Cielos, and then La Reina del Sur, right? And so they went all in, and I'm like, whatever. I mean,
so you weren't that bothered by it. So no. It's a Mexican production company that's
no, actually, well, that's, it's like my first taste, right?
Oh,
until later on, and it was 2019, right? 2019 when I really got a serious, conversation, right? And so, and it's from a Chicano from El Paso, a primo in Burbank, doing what he can, trying to change the game. And so we had a conversation, and I do my due diligence, I research, and I'm like, wow, okay, so it's the real deal, okay, right? And so, and then you start hearing, oh, hey, and this is Javier Chapa from Mucho Más. So you check out. And so later on, I get a call like, hey, man, we just talked to Eli Roth, man. He wants in. I'm like, what?
Whoa.
Wow.
He's like, dude, I love Eli.
Wow.
I love horror. I love
Impressive.
Kevin Bieber. Let's go. So I love Hostel. And so, and I'm like, dude, okay, all right. Okay, I see. And so, and he's a cool guy. I've talked to him online. Very down to earth guy. You know, and funny thing is, it was just all horror stuff. You know, just fanboy horror conversations. You know, and so yeah, so he, you know, he's like at first, you know, and this is like, you know, para mis comadres, you know. You know, at first he was interested in, I want to direct it. You know, I want to direct El Peso Hero.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And then later on, he's like, there were conversations where, well, you know, let me have a primo direct it. You know, I want to let me produce. I want somebody to give an opportunity to really,
Nice.
you know, whatever you want to open up, right? And so that's where we're at, right? And so he's still attached. And then we had another conversation with Jay Hernandez. You know, if you guys watch Magnum PI, and also he was Diablo from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Check him out.
He was in Crazy Beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
and so, you know, he's like, you want it in, and so, and so, right, and so it's been a journey, right? And then I visited Burbank, and for the Godzilla King of the Monsters premiere.
Oh yeah.
And I was there. Like I said, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and so like Legendary hooked me up. Well, have yet hooked me up.
Yes.
Like,
A lot of
hey.
people don't realize that Burbank is basically suburbia Hollywood.
Yeah. Definitely.
And that was an awesome experience because I was hatching out with the director Ricardo, and you know, just you know, and I know that you just have to be open because all these things change, and you have to go with an open mind just because there's always, you know. Okay, you know, maybe not, maybe yes. You know, you know, when this is my advice to anybody, you just have to be, you know, cautiously optimistic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it just, you know, and then COVID hit.
Oh.
Right.
And so we, you know, and it totally changed the game. Right. Changed it and all this, and so, and then you know, we had Chantreta, which I was really excited. If you guys watch The Mayans.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He is one of the writers too. And so, you know, checking his the treatment of Peso Hero, and I go back to what's difficult as a writer, letting go. It's more difficult.
Right.
I'm very familiar.
Letting go. You
feeling.
gotta, especially you're collaborating, conversing, you have to be open-minded, you know, because it's the comic book medium is different than film or a show, right? And you're talking about a broader audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it's been an experience. It's been fun with that. It's still like yesterday I was in conversation with, no, I'm not going to name the writer, but you know, I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just saying. But no, it is, you know, I was, you know, we had an amazing Zoom, you know, and it's ongoing, and hopefully, and there's some news that I have, but I'm not able to tell, some exciting stuff. Hopefully this summer you'll get some news, some cool stuff.
Oh, nice. That's the summer. June is like a week away.
Oh, you're right. give me August. Give me August. No,
right around the corner.
Well, that's awesome. You keep saying it's been a journey, and it really has. I'm sure that when you first had this spark of an idea of somebody who is defending and fighting for these disenfranchised groups, that never to imagine that you'd be sitting on a Zoom call with a amazing director, producer, writer,
Yeah.
whatever, to actually move forward to seeing this character on the big screen. That's amazing, and congratulations for that.
Oh, thank you. It's very, very humbling journey, and it's still ongoing. So like I said, cautiously optimistic. You never know. Entonces les digo eso, it's very, having these conversations, you become very vulnerable, right? As a creator too, as a writer, it's very, right? Because you never know. Nunca sabes, like COVID hit last year, or you never know what will bring. But yeah, just, it's been a great journey. And so I just be positive, todo eso, And so, and last year was especially heavy for me because I lost one of my brothers unexpectedly. And he himself was the director of our family. I'm the artist, the comic book guy. He was a movie film guru, director. He shot El Toro Pesado, a Peso Hero short film in 2015. You can check it out on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
He was also an inspiring comic book creator too. So he came out with his own comic book, and which unfortunately I wasn't able to see it published. And so I published it for him.
Oh,
and you can check it out on the Kickstarter, because he always wanted to have his comic book released with a Peso Hero.
Oh,
and so,
nice.
Yeah, and so it's a, check it out. It's the, here, let me have it right here. It's the Silent Meat Grinders, about a Chicano veteran in the near future. It's kind of a military techno thriller. So, he's honoring our Chicano vets, our Latino vets,
Nice.
Yeah, check it out on Kickstarter.
Yay,
Right on.
cool. So our segment, as you may or may not know, Juntos y Fuertes, highlights noteworthy endeavors by members of marginalized groups that we think deserve support. So are there any projects that you would like to share with our listeners / watchers, or plug?
Yes, I highly recommend, as an educator, to support the arts too. There's so many cultural arts centers in your community, especially when it comes to theater.
Oh yeah.
And so I highly recommend supporting your local theater group. And this goes to my brother Gustavo, who he's our actor theater guy. He's actually a theater teacher, and he's a young guy theater teacher. And so please support your arts in your local community, as well as, if you want to support a classroom, go to DonorsShoes.
Oh yeah.
And support a local classroom in your city.
Yes, actually.
And also, and I know. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, actually, Donors Choose is amazing, and I supported an educator here in a local classroom who wanted copies for his entire class, copies of Mouse.
Oh yes, nice. Oh,
yeah, so
awesome.
I helped support that. It's amazing the things that you can, and if you want to support a specific thing like comic books in education, you can definitely research that.
Yep, it's there. So I recommend those. In our Kickstarter, we have a special educator school nonprofit tier where you get one. You give 3, you get 1, basically, to your local school
Awesome.
or library. Or in a Peso Hero, it's a middle grade book, and it's kind of written for high school, but when you're thinking middle grade, you always need to think about grades above, because that's what they like.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That is super, super cool. Now it's time for you to tell our audience and listeners where can they follow your projects, and where can they follow future projects, website, social media, Kickstarter. Just plug it up. Just tell us everything.
Well, you can find El Peso Hero on the social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just Google El Peso Hero. You see all the great interviews like this one here. Like and subscribe. And also you can check out the Kickstarter, which we have reached our goal, but we're trying to get into our stretch goals because we're about $400 away from hitting the first one, which will get an amazing Hero
stickers.
codex. Yeah, check it out.
And yeah, I love that style. There's
This is from Jorge Garza.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jorge Garza. Oh my God. I'm
So-
so happy that like we as I guess in the comic book Latinx community, we all know each other and support each other. And that's super awesome. I love his artwork.
Oh no, I love it, man. And so he totally hooked me up, bless him, you know, and I asked him, hey, you know, Ian Jorge was a Texas Latino Comic, like, you know, I'm a fan, brother. Entonces, what would you take, you know, to do it? And he's like, nada, man, I'm here to support you, brother. It's so very
Oh.
amazing guy, you know. And so, and the thing, I give this out to kids at school too, and so they love the art, you know. And so it's a great connection. So check it out. We're $400 away from everybody getting one of these. And then all those extra funds goes towards the new El Peso Hero story, La Guerra de los Sicarios, Sicario War, which is a very action focused, a lot of fun. It's like Black Hawk Down on the border with El Peso Hero.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That is super cool. I'm so excited. There's so much going on with you. Like, where do you find the time to do everything? You like on a rock band, you write comic books, you
Oh my gosh,
teach.
you know, I haven't even talked about Mask Republic and our lucha world with, yeah, I'm currently the director of development for Mask Republic, and we have a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, wow.
So that's for another show, ¿verdad?
Wow, that's so amazing. Man, I can't wait to watch the movie, and I've already supported the Kickstarter, so I'm super excited to get my book.
Thank you guys.
So I didn't even look at the tier where you buy 3 get 1 and then donate the other. I have to maybe revisit that, but I'm just excited to get my book. I'm ready. I'm
excited to share it. I'm like, that ending's gonna be good. I'm telling you, that's a good ending.
Awesome. That is super cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, and thank you for sharing all that wonderful information, and muchísima suerte with everything that's going to happen. And I mean, oh my gosh, like there's so much happening with you, so like I'm super excited.
We'll be sure to ride your coattails, right?
Oh no, you guys will be right there with the interview.
I also wanted to see like if we could actually attend the premiere of El Peso Hero. That would be awesome.
Oh yeah. Hey, you never know. You know, if it's up in Burbank, you know, the Chinese theater, or
yeah,
Imagine.
in
That would
between.
be something. Hey,
yeah, definitely. Again, thank you so much for being on our show. This has been Las Platicas. We have been your hosts. I'm Sarah.
I'm Kristen.
and I'm Jen.
And our guest is
Hector Rodriguez. Make sure you subscribe and like to Comadres and Comics.
Thank you. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.